keeping some of these details vague because I seriously don't want the host to find out that I published this story. I don't think they would approve. I hope that is alright, and I'll try to make it as comprehensive as possible. I spent a year studying in Mexico recently, and as you do on exchange, I tried to travel as much as I could. Between the semesters, there was a big break, and me and my buddy that I spent the most time with during the exchange decided that we'd go on a longer backpacking trip to Mexico together. We had a rough plan on where to go and what we wanted to see, but we hadn't even booked our flight back yet, nor were we sure from where we would take it from. We wanted to keep it flexible. We had an amazing time, and a few days before our trip ended, we finally decided we would take our flight from a city that was close and had really cheap flights, but the city itself didn't really have anything to offer. Then on Airbnb, we found a room very close to the airport in a house with a pool, and we thought we'd just treat ourselves to a relaxed pool day at the end of the trip. It turned out that the hosts were a family. The husband was Mexican and the wife was from Europe, could even speak our native language. So we arranged that we would take a bus to the airport and that they would pick us up from there. When we finally arrived to the city, it was already dark, and the bus driver refused to drive us to the airport since it was not directly on his route. So he just dropped us off on the highway.
And that's
that was
crazy.
already a pretty shitty situation to begin with. Standing with our
Wait a minute, right? Mind you, okay, y'all probably heard, but they from Europe. They in Mexico on vacation. Whoop-de-whoop. Why would y'all catch a bus though? Like, why not get an Uber? You know what I'm saying? So that way you don't have a choice but to go directly to where the fuck you supposed to be getting dropped at. Am I tripping? Why would you catch a bus there? I'm pretty sure they do Uber too there, and it's nighttime. So a nigga kicked you off his bus and continue to go the direction you probably was about to go. Dog, that's crazy. That's crazy.
our backpacks at the side of the road in the middle of nowhere in a not so safe city in Mexico. But I called the host and sent them our GPS location, and they say no problem and that they will come get us. So the husband came to pick us up, and it was a very uncomfortable situation getting into the car with a stranger in the night, in the middle of nowhere.
That's crazy work, but yeah, they some real niggas.
It also didn't help that the guy looked like Danny Trejo without a mustache, and as I tried to make small talk with him, he only gave monosyllabic answers or straight out ignored me. Well, he's just not a big talker, I thought, and I hoped we would arrive soon. Looking back, I can see a million red flags, but for some reason, at that time, we just didn't see them. Either we were too tired, or to be honest, we didn't really have any other choice than going along anyway, so. But yes, we arrive, and that should have immediately set alarms off. We were in the middle of nowhere. There were fields with sheep and goats around, and all of a sudden, a gravel road branches off from the paved road, and along that gravel road, there are about 6 huge mansions, all with 2-meter walls around them, topped with NATO fence huge gates and at least 2 gigantic guard dogs per house. When we entered their house, we were greeted by the wife.
I don't know much about it, bruh. And I know this just animation, right? But that shit sound like some cartel shit. I don't want to say too much. I want to let them keep telling their story. But definitely giving cartel vibes. Y'all let me know.
Bubbly middle-aged woman that was very talkative but pleasant. She had actually cooked dinner for us, and we ate while exchanging small talk. The husband just sat at the table not saying a single word. After dinner, we more or less went directly to bed because it had gotten late, and we were tired from a long day. The next morning,
Wait a minute. I don't mean to keep pausing, y'all. But I've never heard of somebody getting an Airbnb and the host staying with them. Like, is that a thing? Like, they got like a room that they rent out to you or something, and you stay there even though it's their house. Like, y'all seen some shit? I don't know. I've never been in an Airbnb. I've never booked one. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how that shit work. But the YouTubers are watching shit when they go or they talk about Airbnbs, it's just a house, an empty house, mind you, that them and or whoever else they got along with them is gonna be staying at. Like, it ain't nobody in there that's gonna be staying there while they staying there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't never heard of that. Now, I've seen them meet the host and talk about what's the rules and shit like that, but staying there with them? Airbnb rooms? Like, what is that?
We saw that the weather was not that good, so we decided to go into town and just see a few touristy things it had to offer, instead of spending it at the pool. When we came back, it was already dark, but we decided to jump into the pool anyways to cool off, because it was really hot and humid. The wife joined us, and at some point, my friend made the mistake to ask how they were able to afford such a house. It didn't really match the price range of the jobs they were telling us that they were doing. And she deflected a bit and added that her husband was very handy because he had grown up in the streets and basically built a house himself. We realized that it was maybe not the best topic and we broke the conversation off. That was the last day of.
She kind of just gave him a hint, like, whatever it is he do, it can't be legal. She talking about, my husband grew up in the streets and pretty much basically built the house himself. He probably built it, but I don't think he like by hand built it. Like he had them funds to get that house built and get it how he wanted it and get it renovated how he wanted it. But not to even go too far into it, but that's not y'all business anyway. Like why it even matter? Like nigga, y'all there for the night until the morning because they said they about to catch their flight. They only there so they can have somewhere to sleep pretty much. And for real, if you want to even take it a bit further than that, you could have just got a motel, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure a motel would have been way cheaper and way more convenient and pocket friendly. But y'all want to spend all this unnecessary extra money when y'all are leaving in the morning. Like, what sense do that make? I don't know, bro. They from Europe, and y'all know how Europeans think.
Of our trip, and we had our flight back home early in the morning. We still had some weed left that we had brought on the trip, and we thought it would be nice to smoke one, since it was our last night. But as this was a family home and they had kids around, we thought it would be better to speak to our hosts if they would mind. So later in the evening, we asked the wife if it would be okay if we smoked on the property, which for some reason she found quite amusing and started laughing. She shouted to her husband, who was lying on the couch watching TV, "My love, the boys asked if it would be okay if they smoked some weed. What do you think?" And he just laughed but didn't give an answer. He looked at her with a dumbfounded expression as she told us sure, just go ahead. So we went to the terrace and started smoking our joint. Later, they joined us and we just had a chat. And this is where things got really fucked up.
I don't know the specifics of the conversation or if they just left out the part where they were specific about what they were smoking. But hypothetically speaking, they never told the lady, we're gonna go smoke some weed. I'm 22, right? We wouldn't have told them all that. Like me and my brother, if that was us, we wouldn't have told them all that. We would have just asked like, yo, is it cool if we smoke? Or we probably wouldn't even ask. We probably would have just snuck out, went outside somewhere far away from the crib for out of respect for them because we don't know what they into and all that, and just did it like that. You know what I mean? We probably would have let them know like, all right, you about to go outside, smoke. You know what I'm saying? With you, smoke a little cigarette. Because, you know, they probably would have thought it was a cigarette or a breeze or something. But, yeah, like, they didn't say all that. So how she assuming all that? Why? And why didn't they correct her? Even though she right, like, it could have been wrong. I don't know.
For some reason, they start asking all sorts of questions about the weed. Where we got it, how much it was, who we got it from, and how much we would have to pay for it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why you asking all that?
They just seemed way too interested in the weed, and at one point,
way
the wife
too
just
interested.
nonchalantly revealed to us. Yes, we thought about doing that as a source of income, selling weed. But too many people died doing that, because the cartels don't like that. Actually, my husband used to kill people for doing that. I immediately felt
What
so
did I just say earlier?
She just say, and as if he read my mind, her
What did I just say earlier? This shit giving cartel, bruh.
husband added, "Yes, when I was about 16, I killed a lot of people for the cartel for money." And he said it in a time.
Alright, what? You can't make this up, bruh. He an ex-hitman for the cartel? And they stand with him? Nah. You know, I ain't gonna fake. After I heard that, it would have been motel. I'm calling the Uber. I don't give a fuck, taxi, whatever. We might have to walk because I'm not staying here. And they already said bruh was looking creepy as hell. Like, you know what I mean? And he just said that. They say he said it all calmly and shit. Like, it was just nothing. Like, yeah, I used to kill some niggas for the cartel. It wasn't nothing. What you mean? Crazy.
Tone as if he had just used to mow lawns when he was a teenager. I still thought I must have misunderstood, so I texted my friend who was sitting across the table from me. Try not to make eye contact, because I knew we would freak each other out. He confirmed that I had indeed understood right. We discussed what we should do and agreed that there's no immediate threat and that we should just stay. We don't have anywhere else to go anyways, and it's already late. But things got even crazier. We tried to keep our composure and not completely freak out while still making conversation with our hosts. A few minutes later, though, the husband got up and went inside to get something. And he came back with a literal kilo of weed, pressed into a brick. He proceeded to break bits off the brick and roll them into a joint. That would probably
Nigga said a little kilo. A little kilo of weed. Nigga, what? What are you talking about?
have knocked out Snoop Dogg. It was about the size of my thumb, and I guess it had about 2 grams of weed in
Oh
there.
wait, type
Of
shit.
course, he offered the joint to us, but we politely declined, saying that we were already pretty stoned.
That nigga
He
said that
seemed a
shit would have
little
knocked out
offended,
Snoop.
but fortunately, he bought our excuse. But it got even worse. A few minutes later, we hear a couple of loud bangs. The wife became a bit uneasy and asked, "What was that?" To which he answered calmly, 9mm. To confirm my suspicion, that had indeed been shots. I would say it was around.
That nigga ain't just say, yeah, them was gunshots, baby. That nigga said a specific caliber. Like, he know exactly what firearm being fired, how it sound like. Bruh, ain't no way he just said, yeah, them definitely 9mm. What? Crazy work. Watch who
7 or
y'all be
something
around, bro.
shots, fired pretty quickly after each other. The wife got nervous and asked if we should maybe go inside. What do you think they are shooting at in the air? At cows? At people? But he just shrugged
At
it off and we
cows.
stayed outside.
Be real.
Again, a few minutes later, there were more shots, but this time even closer. The wife got even more upset and asked again, "Should we go inside? What do you think they're shooting at? We need to go inside." And I think I'll never forget when he answered in the calmest way imaginable, "No, everything's okay. I didn't hear any screams yet." I don't know why, but the way he just calmly said that freaked me out, and it is still making my heart beat whenever.
Excuse me, like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, we was just supposed to wait to get hit or hear somebody get hit. Like, what? What are you talking about? Man, that's, hey. Yeah, at that point, call him a ride. Oh, bro, they texting each other. I would have texted bro, like, yeah, at that moment, call the Uber, call the Lyft, call something.
Whenever I think about it. After that, we quickly excused ourselves and went to our room. When we could finally talk, we basically both lost it and panicked. What the hell were we supposed to do? We are locked in a house with a contract killer in the middle of absolutely nowhere. People are shooting outside. We decided it was probably our best bet to stay because we thought, well, we are his guests and he is not going to harm us. And it's better to have walls and dogs and a serial killer in between us and people shooting around. So we barricaded ourselves into the room and didn't sleep a second until the morning, when we noped the hell out of there and went to the airport. I was never so happy to be patted down at security my whole life.
Nasty work, bro. That's the end of that story,
Growing
I
up,
guess.
I lived with my emotionally and mentally abusive helicopter mom, and misogynistic stepdad, and my brother. When I turned 18, my grandparents were kind enough to let me move in with them since they lived so close to my college.
In this day and era, right? I don't know if it's just me, but whenever I hear the word misogyny or misogynistic, I think of Andrew Tate or Fresh and Fit or the niggas in that category of content, right? And y'all see how dude, hold on, I'm gonna play it and see if that's like the stepdad she talk about. Hold on.
This was my way out, away from that clown show at home.
Him right there, like, that's her stepdad. And I don't think it's no coincidence that they animated this nigga to look like Andrew Tate and shit. I don't know if I'm overthinking it or it could have just been a coincidence, but I don't believe in those, bro. You talking about he misogynistic and he just so happened to be like a low-key parody animated version of this nigga. That's crazy. He even got the fitted shirt how the nigga be wearing. I don't know.
And I was incredibly grateful for them. I sometimes wonder if my parents hadn't been so hard on me, if this would have ever even happened. But I was an adult and I made these decisions. Luckily, I learned from them. Once I was free, so to speak, and had much more freedom, I naturally started to rebel a bit more while I was trying to find my way. I rebelled in everything from clothing, music, tattoos, and even dating. Specifically, I wanted to date the most out there person to prove a point, I guess. If I could go
You wanted to date the most out there person to prove a point. So you wanted the whore. Like that's what that mean when we say like this motherfucker be out there like a motherfucker. Like you just be out there. That mean you a hoe or you get around. I don't know, bro.
back to my 18-year-old self, I would punch myself in the face for these decisions.
Yeah, I bet you would.
I was on a local MySpace forum and I saw James. I went to high school with James and we got on fine, but I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. It turns out that James had suffered some childhood trauma and went to go live with a relative about 8 hours away in
MySpace? How old is this story? The fuck? This bitch just said MySpace. MySpace forum.
another state and was seemingly living a more stable life now.
They brought that back? Let me know.
We started messaging back and forth and I liked James a lot. He was different, quirky and edgy even. I started to speak with James more and more frequently and messages became texts and somehow in the mix, it became a relationship.
Keep
But I
that
regret
word
to this
edgy
day.
in mind.
Every day, non-stop texting, and sometimes it would turn dark and James would say things to me that are forever ingrained in my head. He would often talk about his childhood trauma and some seriously disturbing things. Of course, this is a red flag and I'm unsure why I continue to stick around. After a couple of months, James came to visit me. We stayed a few days in a hotel and it seemed like a whirlwind. I truly cared about him, but looking back, I don't know if I would have necessarily called it love or simply just having a good time. But at the time, I was convinced that it was love and that I felt like he was the one for me. There was an instance where I had come out of the bathroom at the hotel and I remember the hotel room being in disarray, clothes strewn everywhere, and it was just a giant mess. But James stood there smiling. He got down on one knee and proposed with a small sapphire and diamond ring. I said yes, but it just didn't feel real, or something about it was unsettling. When I think about it, I feel nauseous. I guess it's
I don't know if I missed it, but did she say how long these motherfuckers was talking for her to be accepting a nigga proposing to her out the blue in the hotel room? Edgy ass nigga. And it's crazy because them be the niggas that y'all females pick. Females from every genre. When I say genre, I mean from every race all over America. I ain't gonna say worldwide. Put that stereotype all over for women all over. Because I do got some hope that is women with some sense around the world. But like, come on, bro. These be the niggas you say yes to. And then you would tell the real husband, material type nigga, no.
a bit of an embarrassment that still lingers. Towards the end of James' visit, we sobbed together and we were unsure of how we were going to make this work. What other options
Visit? This nigga visited?
did I have other than to move? I withdrew from my classes and moved to his area. I remember when I told my
And you quit school to move with this weirdo ass nigga. You quit? Oh my god.
parents, my mom was extremely upset that I never discussed this with her or my stepdad. But I think that conversation fueled me to really stick it out and make it work. In my mind, I was an adult and this was a huge adult decision and I didn't need to discuss
I'm an adult. This was a huge adult decision. Yet you didn't do no adult shit to handle this like an adult would. And this is my thing, bro. Like, y'all young adults out here. I'm a young adult. I'm 22. Y'all younger young adults, y'all fresh 18s and shit, like, y'all be thinking y'all know it all. Until you do some childish ass shit like this that proves to you how grown you are not. Like, bro, just because you get legally grown, don't mean you stop getting raised, bro. And this was just fucking stupid. This was just the stupidest thing I heard.
anything with anyone, and no one would tell me anything different. We lived in a small room at James' grandmother's house, and we never really left. He would act very strange when I mentioned wanting friends or wanting to get a job.
And you didn't even move with him in his own crib. You moved with him to his granny's house. You should have stayed with Dukes.
So I could leave the house or even wanting to leave the house in general. I mentioned earlier in the past that James had his quirks and would sometimes do odd things. For example, he had become a huge Insane Clown Posse fan during our relationship. I knew that he liked them, but not to the extent of borderline obsession. They weren't my cup of tea, but I'm not going to tell someone what they can and can't listen to. But things just got weird. James had become such a fan that he got a giant tattoo that represented his love for the Insane Clown Posse. He started to solely listen to their music, and he started to paint his face, often in clown makeup. It became so much of an obsession that he would try to force me to paint my face. He would get irrationally upset and would scream at me. He shoved me and tried to trap me into a closet when I told him that I just didn't want to. It was something that really set him off, and I'm unsure why. As the days went by, I started to feel more and more isolated.
And these be the type of niggas that y'all continue to stay and ignore all the red flags and be delusional for, bro. Ain't no fucking way. This nigga just locked you in the closet because you didn't want to paint your face and you didn't fuck with the music that he fuck with. He locked you in the closet. Like, bro, you didn't leave. You stayed. You kept dealing with it at his granny house.
Just staying in our room in this house, and I could only really ever leave the bedroom to eat or use the bathroom. Otherwise, we just stayed in the room. When I
Like
did get
what?
to leave the house, James had to be with me and we would just go to his other relative's house or to dinner. I had no friends and I wasn't allowed to get a job and I had no support system.
You wasn't allowed to get a job, but you so grown.
James kept a notebook that he would journal in and would openly read some of his entries that seemed pretty mild. I shouldn't have invaded his privacy on that particular day, but I think it saved my life. James was getting ready for work and had his notebook on the bed. He had been acting strange and cold towards me, so I looked into the journal. Some of his entries mentioned how he wanted to cut me on my privates with a box cutter, and he tiptoed around the idea of me not being alive, and this was my out. My parents and I were somewhat speaking at this time, and my aunt lived a couple of hours from me. I had told everyone that I was coming home and what I had just read. My aunt packed up and started heading my way, just in case and to make sure I could safely leave. I told James that I saw what he wrote and that I was going to go back home, and that this relationship.
Why would you tell him? And this be the type of shit that like piss me off. Cause y'all females be thinking y'all so smart until it's actually time to be smart and do and think of smart shit. And this wasn't smart at all. You read that shit, you read that mental sociopath shit in his journal, and you told him that you read it. He was about to go to work. That was gonna be the cleanest ghost escape, never talking to you again scenario that you could ever be in and get out of. But you told him, like, yeah, I seen you crazy ass. Like, are you dumb? This nigga locks you in a closet. That's crazy. Y'all fucking, these be the niggas y'all just swear y'all can't leave. Like, I know, and y'all ignore all the red flag. Like, this is some genuinely delusional ass shit. You can't make this shit up.
Isn't going to work out. James fell to his knees in tears, begging me not to leave, saying that he loved me, but that all quickly changed into anger when he wanted to lock me in his closet so I couldn't leave. Lucky for me, he had to go to work before he could really do anything. While he was gone, I packed up my things while listening to his grandma scream at me, and I left. Unfortunately, the story doesn't end here. A few months had gone by, and James and I had become friends, and I had come to visit him.
Y'all became friends a few months later? Delusion at its finest, bruh. How do you become friends with somebody who's clearly a mental sociopath? The nigga said he wanna cut you in your private areas, and you just think, all right, yeah, a few months gone by, he's probably cool now. Like, as if a few months was, or any time, a little bit of time that passed by was just enough to say, all right, he's probably cool. He's probably cool people now. Like, certain shit, bro, you can't get past with motherfuckers. Like, that would be one of those things. Like, this nigga locked you in the closet, had some shit that he was probably gonna do to you, that he was visualizing and probably mentally preparing to do. If you would have stayed longer and you want to be friends with this nigga now, get shit a little good for you when you made it home, are you fucking dumb? Oh my god, shit like this, bro.
Which was the last visit. Nothing bad happened. It wasn't even a bad time or anything, but I just knew that I had to cut him out. Years had gone by after that visit, I would say maybe 3 or 4. And I had heard through mutual friends that James had gotten married. I had moved across the country for school and should just explore a new area and have the freedom that I should have gotten on the first go without being so.
It's always the niggas named James doing this type of mentally ill shit. Like, it's always them niggas. Aside from my homie that passed away when I was a little nigga. R.I.P. JJ. But it's always niggas named James. Like, if you know, you know. That shit.
So crazy. James would occasionally try to speak with me on social media, and I would just not reply, or the replies would be a few and far in between. I'm 32 now, and I recently got married. I've started to settle down, and my husband and I are trying for our first baby, which is very exciting. James hasn't been a thought in my mind over the past several years at this point, until recently. He found me on Facebook, and to be honest, I didn't think he had social media anymore. At this point, I expressed to him that we are not friends, and it's really inappropriate to keep messaging me. I said, "Can you please stop?" And he replied, "No." Fair enough, so I blocked him.
My nigga said, "No, we're for lifers." That nigga put the extra O's. He said, "No."
Another few months go by and I get a Snapchat from him. Blocked. Another few months go by and he followed me on Instagram. I kept my Instagram open because I like to post about my...
Hey, if you know, you know, bro. You thought you about to get away? No.
My travels and fitness stuff, and I really have nothing to hide, or anything to really be private about, until he started following me. I went to block his account, and I noticed that this was a brand new account. No followers, and he only followed me. I have since made everything private, blocked all accounts, went to those sites like Ben Verified, and had all of my information removed from those databases. I feel like I made a grave mistake as a teenager, and I was able to move on from that, and wanting to live a normal life. I'm unsure why he still lives.
Now when I was the teenager, but you were just saying how you was so grown. So I'm assuming she had teen in her age, so she was probably about 18, 19 doing that shit. You know what I mean? Because ain't no way you about to be telling your parents what you can and finna do, and they just let you and you a minor. they'll easily call 12 and they'll ship your ass right back to the crib. So she had to be like a fresh 18, 19. Now niggas talking about I was a teenager. But at the time, you was just swearing you was so grown.
Lurch around,
Crazy
trying to
work.
antagonize me and be involved in my life.
Locked your dumb ass in the closet.
This happened.
Where we at? 15 minutes. This video probably about smooth 30, smooth 25 minutes. So we gonna end it right here. Like, share, comment, all that. Part 2. You know what I'm saying? We get this motherfucker jumping at 50 likes. Drop the part 2, do the part 2 reaction. You know what I'm saying? These stories be going crazy. But some of these, it don't be adding up sometimes. And some shit just don't be called for. Like, it can be avoided. Shit. Till next time, man. Gary Stories with Ree.